Hello, everyone. Thanks for joining. My name's Ryan Carrigan. I'm a sales engineer here at Leostream. Today, I'm going to show you how to use Azure Active Directory along with Azure Multi-Factor Authentication to be used as an authentication server with the Leostream connection broker. So to start, we'll jump into our Azure portal and start to build out a enterprise application in your Azure portal, which will allow you to integrate in a Microsoft or Azure AD login with your Leostream connection broker. First, we'll go in and let me go back here. To start, we'll create a new application. We need to select create your own application. We'll name our broker, and we're going to select integrate any other application you don't find in the gallery. So once that's created, we'll get linked to the actual application page, and we're going to set it up to be used as a SAML provider. So we go to the single sign-on tab here, we'll choose SAML. So the two primary pieces we need to set up this initially with the broker is our entity ID and our sign-on URL. So I'll start by just hitting edit on the SAML configuration. And our entity ID, we're just going to enter a unique value. So this is going to be a unique value across your organization. I'm just going to call it Leostream Broker Demo. And then we'll have a sign-on URL, which will be the link for your broker or your Leostream gateway. So in my case, I'm going to go with my Leostream gateway because this is the endpoint that a user is talking to when they log in. So that will be the same address for both your sign-on URL and your reply URL. So once that's entered, I'll hit save. At this point, there'll be two pieces of information I want to grab from the Azure portal that I'm going to be using on my broker to start to set this up. So the first piece is I need the login URL. This is the URL that the broker is going to redirect to cause someone to trigger someone to log in through Azure. So I'll copy that. And then the last piece is this Federation metadata XML. So we'll start with the login URL. I'll just go to another tab and log into my broker. We're going to go to Setup Authentication Servers, add an authentication server, choose SAML as the type, call this Azure AD. Now I had my SAML entity ID, so if we remember that was SAML, so I put Leostream Broker Demo. We're going to leave these mappings blank for now. URL is what we copied, so I'll paste that in here. Then I'm going to come back here to download my XML. And within that, I'll be able to just throw that right into the broker. You see, we're going to put that whole XML in, come down to the bottom and hit save. So now all login traffic is being directed to that IDP. So what will happen is if I try to go to my gateway address, it's going to redirect me to Azure. Now, you notice here, I'm not assigned a role that allows access to this application. So this is the next step of where we need to actually start allowing people access into the application in your environment. So this has been brought in. So we know that this part's working. It is redirecting to Azure. I'm going to go to users and groups. And what you can do here is you can create an overall group of users that are allowed access to your Leostream environment. You could just add a single user. So I'll add myself. So at this point, anyone that has these attributes or is a specific user assigned will be able to log into the broker. So let's go to Gateway. Oh, I'm actually logged in as the wrong account here, so let's do this the right way. Log into my email. Start that over. So I'll log into my email, enter my password, and I'm not going to stay signed in. There we go. So now I've just gone straight to the desktop offer page, but currently I don't have any resources available to me because I'm not being assigned anything. So let's go to that next step of starting to get that information built out into the broker where we can assign a user a specific desktop or a policy. So once you add Azure AD as a authentication server, it will pop up as a different assignment table that you can edit. So within here, you'll see that there's an attribute filter on the top, and then the values that you want to be able to sort or assign groups by. So by default, this is just a default attribute that we're filtering. You need to use the specific attribute that you've shared with Leostream from your Azure AD server. So if we go look at our user that was created when I logged in, you'll notice there's no group, there's no group info. So I don't have any way of sorting these users and allowing people to choose who has access to what. So I need to enable Azure to share these attributes to the broker. So where we're going to do that is we're going to go back to our application, and I'm going to go to the SAML page where we were before, and you'll see this user attributes and claims. We'll edit this and we're going to add a group claim. So what this is going to do is if I choose all groups here and make sure this says group ID, this is going to share all the group IDs that my user, my Azure AD user has, and is going to send that with the assertion to the broker so that we can use that information to sort users and have them be assigned different policies based off of what group they're in. So we have that there. So now if I go back to my other browser and I'll sign out and just log right back in. So I logged in through Azure. If we go into the broker, we should see that my user now has different metadata. So you'll see here the SAML attributes is populated. So the actual attribute groups we're going to copy and put into our assignment table. Then at this point, I need to filter out the different attribute values, so the different group values to assign a policy. So we want to make sure this says contains because a user can have multiple different groups. And I'll open up another window to look at this user data. So when you do add something like Azure as a SAML provider, if you need to get back to the admin portal, just go to the URL and then /admin, then you'll be able to log in. So you notice my group data is this long string of different numbers and letters. So this is not the actual group name. This is a unique identifier or an object ID that's defined by Azure. So in order to know which group is what, this is something that you will need to note down. And you can go to your groups portal in Azure to see these object IDs and what they are. So you can see I can see that my Leostream group here has this specific object ID. So I can filter by that object ID in order to assign a policy to someone. So we'll go to an attribute value here. We go. So now if someone's in this Leostream group, they're going to be assigned my all desktops policy. And if they otherwise, they're going to get a default policy which doesn't offer them any desktops. Now my user is not in that Leostream group. So right now if I log out and log back in, I should still be getting no resources. So this proves right now that I'm not getting assigned a specific policy. So what we'll do is we'll go into Azure and I will add my user into this Leostream group. Now this data is stored. I should be getting that information when I log in through the assertion. So let's log out, log back in, and there we go. I can see different desktops that I could select, launch, and just like any other Leostream environment, you're going to be able to assign policies and protocol plans to dynamically allow you to connect to different locations. So the next step of this is going to be multi-factor. So I want to enable where I'm requiring a PIN code, a text message, a push notification on a cell phone. So in order to set up that type of workflow, we can, because we're using a SAML provider like Azure, we can do that all through Azure AD. So I'll sign my user out, and just to be sure, make sure my user is fully signed out. And let's go back into our Azure portal. Okay, so let's enable two-factor authentication. So I'll go down to our conditional access. So under security, we'll select conditional access and we'll create new policy. You notice this has automatically selected the Leostream demo app. That means we're prompting two-factor specifically on this app. I'll just add my user. So I'll prompt that my user needs to be required to use two-factor, require two-factor. And then there's some other parameters here that you can do depending on different types of devices you want to allow access. And then last but not least, let's have it set up for I need to re-authenticate once an hour. Here we go. So we need to enable that policy. We'll go back to our other session here, and we're just going to make sure that we're logged out. So it's as if we're starting from a brand new session. I'm going to log into my gateway. Does my redirect here, enter my password. Now it's going to send a text message to my phone for a code. And then we do have some other methods here. We can also approve a request on an authenticator app and whatever else you have tied into your Azure environment. So maybe I'll do that. Got the notification. Let's approve it. So once that goes through, we should log in, get that same type of user experience we were getting before. But now you can go in and require two-factor authentication based off of your Azure policies. Thanks for watching. If you want to try this yourself, you can get a free trial at leostream.com, or you can contact us at sales@leostream.com.